And so now I'm shaking a little bit because I low-key feel bamboozled. I feel led astray. I feel like we started this video out on a kind of like a high, and now we're getting down to the trenches. I'm a little bit afraid of y'all coming for me in the comments. Hi everyone, I'm Bria and welcome to my channel Tales of Tales. So in today's video, we are going to be reading Booktubers' favorites of 2021. So I'm doing this video for two reasons. The first one is I consider myself a new booktuber, even though I've kind of had my channel for a while. I'm like just now starting to kind of get consistent. So I really just want to, see what the pulse on Booktube is, like what everybody's reading, what's the hot goss? What are we into?
Guys, what is the 411? What has everybody been up to? What is the hot gossip?
And second is that I didn't have like a great 2021 reading year, so I really just wanted to go back and look at everybody else's videos to see if they had good reading years, and then hopefully take some things that worked for them and maybe they'll work for me in 2022. So to start this little experiment, I decided to set a goal of watching at least 20 videos. This way I was like getting out of like my comfort zone, I guess, and watching videos more than just like people I watch on a regular basis. And I feel like anything less than 20 videos would just kind of be a little skewed. So out of the 20 videos I watched, a total of 177 unique titles were mentioned. So out of those 177 titles, 15 books were mentioned twice, 4 books were mentioned 3 times, 3 books were mentioned 4 times, and 2 books were mentioned 5 times in those 20 videos. And so I decided that before I started watching the videos, how I was going to deal with series was that if someone mentioned book 1 in the series and then someone else mentioned book 3 in the series, then that would equal 2 points for the series in general. I know some of y'all might not like that because I understand that some books in series are better than others, but I wanted to give some series like a fighting chance, so that's how I decided to do that. Luckily, this turned out pretty well because there's a clear top 5 with 3 books being mentioned 4 times and 2 books being mentioned 2 times, so I'm going to end up reading a total of 5 books for this experiment slash like reading vlog. Okay, so let's start with the 3 books that were mentioned 4 times. First up, we have The Push by Ashley Audrain. And I was really happy to see this pop up on the list. It was something that I had already planned on reading in 2022 anyway, but I heard that it's just kind of like, what would you do if your kid was like a psychopath, essentially? So I didn't want to go into it with like too much information, but it was definitely intriguing. So I'm excited that I'm getting to read this for this vlog. Okay, and this next book, I feel like it has a moment every single year. And I know it had a big moment on TikTok, and that is The Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller. Greek mythology just hadn't been something that I'm like super familiar with, and so it wasn't a book that I just naturally gravitated towards, but after hearing everybody talk about it in these 20 videos, I'm actually really excited to read it. And so we'll see if I'm in the majority of loving it or hating it. Okay, so this next book, for some reason, just makes me feel like I have beef with Booktube now. The first 2 times I saw it pop up, I was like, okay, that's cool. And then towards video like 16, 17, 18, I was like, hold up. Hold up. Why is this book getting mentioned so much? And when I tell you I was fighting for my life, hoping that this wasn't going to be a book that got mentioned that many times, and that is A Dowry of Blood by S.T. Gibson. So the reason I feel like I have beef with this is because I've written off like vampire books a while ago. Like after Twilight and after like a failed attempt on reading An Interview with the Vampire, I was like, I think I've done my time when it comes to vampires. So, but lo and behold, we have A Dowry of Blood, which I'm pretty sure follows Dracula's Brides. Yeah. I'm not that excited about it. I'm not gonna lie. Okay, now for the 2 books that were mentioned 5 times. This next one, my copy hasn't come in the mail yet, but is People We Meet on Vacation by Emily Henry. So this one kind of just like snuck up on me as well. I do enjoy romances, but I've never actually read a book by Emily Henry before, so I was like, okay, you know, it's a new author, we'll give it a chance. The last book that I'm going to be reading, this is where the note about the series comes in. So book 3 of this series was mentioned 4 times, and then book 1 of this series was mentioned 1 time. So the last book I'll be reading for this vlog is Jade City by Fonda Lee. And I'm excited about it. Okay, so I'm gonna like just quickly rank what I think my level of enjoyment is gonna be for all of these. So here is my predictions of like level of enjoyment, I think. So I think I'll enjoy Jade City the most, then The Push, and then I Don't Have People We Meet on Vacation, but I feel like that'll fit right here in the middle. And then we have Song of Achilles and A Dowry of Blood. I think I'm gonna start somewhere in the middle, so I think I'm gonna start with The Push, and I'll be back when I have an update for you guys. Okay, so before I go into my thoughts on where I'm at in The Push, I'll give you guys just like a better like overview of the book. In The Push, we're following a woman who always imagined that when she became a mother, she would be this warm, comforting person despite her own mother and despite like the troubling childhood that she had. So when she has her daughter Violet, she's kind of surprised that she doesn't feel like this loving maternal instinct towards her. And on top of that, she feels like Violet is like low-key a violent child, both as like a baby and a toddler. So she starts to doubt her abilities as a mother, and she even starts like second guessing if anything is even wrong with her daughter, because her husband is essentially gaslighting her, saying that like it's not her daughter's fault, it's her fault. So I am currently on chapter 51 of this book, and which I know seems like a lot of chapters considering it's like not that big of a book, but the chapters are so short, and that's really making the book engaging and gripping. And those 51 chapters, which is about 60% of the book, I read in one sitting. I had heard some reviews saying that if you were a mother, you might not want to read this, and I definitely agree with other people's opinions about if you are a mother, you might want to take caution with reading this book, because there is topics of like child death. So even if you aren't a parent but you're someone who is sensitive to that, I would say just skip this book. Yeah, so overall I'm enjoying it. I feel like the next time I sit down to read the book, I'll probably finish it. So I will check back in then. And all I'm gonna leave with saying is that I don't know what's creepier than creepy children. Man, what a day it has been. It's currently 6:30, which isn't that late, but I just stopped working. I currently work from home because of Miss Rona, but it's funny because I definitely feel like I work a lot more working from home. But I did finish The Push yesterday on my lunch break, and y'all might be onto something. I mentioned before, but the chapters are like so short that you just really speed through the entire story. Another interesting thing about it is that a lot of it is written in second person, and the only other book I've ever read in second person that like really sticks out in my mind is You by Caroline Kepnes. And so it always adds this element to the story where you're like, son of a bitch, you are creepy. And then let's talk about our protagonist. Miss Mama's had some issues. So most of the story, we don't know if we're dealing with an unreliable narrator or not. And so I think that's another part of the story that just makes it so interesting, because you're like, is there an issue with you, or like, is your daughter really crazy? You just don't know until, you know, the end. So I enjoyed that guessing game that we were playing there. I don't know, this story just has really stuck with me the past like day or so since I finished it. The only dislike I'd say that I have about this book is that it doesn't feel like a traditional like mystery thriller. But that's not necessarily like a bad thing. I just don't think that's what I was expecting going into the book. So that's my bad for having expectations, I guess. But overall, I'm giving this book a 4.5 out of 5 stars. I really enjoyed it, and like my faith in booktubers and this community, we're at a high right now, and I really hope that it stays at the high, but you know, we'll see. So I did start Jade City last night, and I only read like a chapter, so I literally have 0 thoughts about it so far. And am I making y'all dizzy by walking around like this? Whee! Okay, I'll set you down. But yeah, I decided to pick this up next because it is the thickest book on this list. And you know, I feel like I had a lot of momentum coming from the push, and this is y'all's queen, all right? This book is y'all's champion. I need to know why it's so many people's favorite book of 2021, okay? I just need to know. Okay, so I just finished filming a few videos because I need to get those out of the way, and I have been postponing it. I definitely have to edit one tonight/today because today is Sunday. And I told myself I was going to post on Sunday or Mondays. So that means, just mathematically, that if I film today, I gotta edit today too to get that up by tonight or tomorrow. So that's where I'm on that. Where I'm at in Jade City is I'm about 1/3 of the way through, and I should be further along than that based on my little reading schedule, but I'm still proud of my progress, okay? So in this book, Jade is a very powerful and sought out resource, I guess you could call it. So Jade allows whoever's wearing it to have these heightened senses and abilities. But the thing is, not everybody can wear them without it being like destructive for them. And even though everybody can't wear it, you know, if you're not that girl, you're not that girl. But it's still a valuable entity nonetheless. There are 2 main clans that own majority of the Jade, and so we're following the Call clan, or they're known as like No Peak, and the opposing clan, they're also known as like the Mountain clan. So we're mainly following the Cow clan as the new generation of their family is now taking over power. So with this like new leadership, we are also introduced to the central conflict of the book. And so through this conflict, we are learning about the family members. We're learning about the new pillar, which is essentially their leader. We're following his siblings who have various roles in the family and in the story. And so we're kind of just at a building block place currently. Like I said, I'm in 1/3 of the way through, and we know the characters. We've kind of learned their motivations, but nothing like spectacular or mind-blowing has happened yet. It's keeping my attention and I'm engaged, but I'm just like not sure where this book is gonna go. I'm anticipating some action scenes. I'm anticipating some twists and turns and like another layer of conflict, because I feel like that's just how like fantasy, these types of fantasy books go. I'm not like screaming on the top of a mountaintop about this book yet, but that doesn't mean that I won't be by the end of the book, you know? So I'm just curious to know if like my tastes fit within the rest of like the Booktube community, or at least the 20 videos that popped up. So we'll see. So I finished Jade City. Oh man, I'm nervous to film this clip. I feel like I'm gonna need witness protection after I say my thoughts on this. So if you follow me on Instagram, you know that recently I have been doing these like mini reviews on my stories, where I will give my review or my thoughts and feelings on the book in meme form. And so this is the meme that I chose for Jade City. You guys want to start off with the good news or the bad news first? Let's just start off with the bad news. We're just gonna rip the band-aid off. I didn't love this. I know the last time I talked to you guys, I was around or approaching the halfway mark. And up until then, the writing was just so dry. I originally thought that we were just doing a lot of like world building up front and that it was going to get better, because I have read books where, you know, the front half you're like, I don't know, but then the back half you're like, okay, this is good, and I get why the first half was the way that it was. I did not have that revelation once I finished the book. So the last 100 pages of the book I did enjoy, but I feel like with it being a 500-page book, it shouldn't take me that many pages. Like I shouldn't have to read 400 pages to then start really enjoying the book. It still piqued my interest because there's a lot of like political intrigue and, you know, wartime decision making and that kind of stuff. And I asked a few people who have read this book and have read the rest of the series, like I just kind of gave them like some of my feedback of, you know, how I was feeling, and they even recommended me to not move forward with the rest of the series if I didn't like the first half of this book. They told me that the next two books are kind of more of the same, but there are good things about this book. I'll acknowledge that. So while I didn't connect to most of the characters in here and I felt like they were a bit predictable, there was one character in here named Andon that I really did enjoy. I felt like his storyline was like really fleshed out. Out of all of like the perspectives in this book and characters that we got to follow, I was definitely always excited to read about Andon. But he was the only one, and there's a large cast of characters in here. And so while I didn't enjoy the characters individually, I will say that I actually really enjoyed the family dynamic aspect of this book. You know, how their family is set up really played into like the decision making and the ruling and just the dynamic, a lot of the dynamics in the story. And so overall, I gave this just like a flat 3 stars. Like it was fine. Like I said, I'm not going to be continuing on in the series, but it didn't do anything inherently bad, and I was engaged enough to get through the entire 500 pages. So that says something, I guess. And so now I'm shaking a little bit because I low-key feel bamboozled. I feel led astray on that one, okay, because so many people liked it. But I'm hoping that I'm pleasantly surprised, and I hope that I can still continue to have faith in the book community.
The pedestal. I don't know what I was thinking. Let it be more than drinking and going back to your place, never to see you again. That was simply delusion, followed up with confusion. That was just substitution for a lonely bed. So that's impressive, how much you're messing with.
I swear, anytime that I wear a black turtleneck with a gold chain, I feel like that picture of The Rock, but it's fine. Okay, so as you saw, I did get some reading done this morning. I participated in Books and Lala's reading sprints over on her channel for people who are part of her membership. So I got about an hour of reading done for the Song of Achilles, and I had done some reading previous to that. So I actually only have about 100 pages left, and I'm actually enjoying it more than I thought I would. So going into the book, I actually knew nothing about Greek mythology. Like, my knowledge was diddly squat, okay? And so I was a little nervous going into it because I was like, do I need to know about the backstory before reading it? And I didn't. And I actually think it's making my reading experience better because I didn't know anything about it. So I'm going to describe the book as if you also don't know anything about Greek mythology, because you might not. So the Song of Achilles follows Achilles and Patroclus, and they're both princes, but they're both completely different. Okay, so Patroclus is actually exiled as a young boy from his father's kingdom after like a deadly incident happens. And when he's exiled, he's actually sent to the kingdom where Achilles lives. And Achilles is essentially like the golden boy. So him and Patroclus, they start to form this unbreakable bond as they are living in this kingdom together. They are eventually called to this war after Helen of Sparta is kidnapped. So I will say it took the first couple of chapters for me to kind of get accustomed to like the language of the times in which this book was written. And it's not even like the writing style, it's just the way that they talked back then. I don't even know what year Greek mythology really takes place. Also, I'm still kind of grappling with is that the characters are so young. Like Achilles and Patroclus are teenagers, but they are tasked with these like very adult concepts and adult responsibilities. And I'm just thinking about when I was 16 and 17, like I have to participate in a war? No. But aside from that, like I'm still very engaged. I'm really enjoying the story. I'm really enjoying the interactions and like the relationship that Achilles and Patroclus has and how they're just like navigating their friendship slash relationship along with the war that's going on and the people around them. But I will say another thing that I don't understand is like this war is based off of a woman getting kidnapped. And essentially, you know, Helen is supposed to be the most beautiful woman in the world or whatever, but I'm like, damn, she that bad? Huh? She must be a real baddie for them to have a whole war over her. And I always try to relate things back to today's time. And I mean, I think Kim K, like the Kardashians, are very overrated, right? But based on today's standards, she's very popular, right? So I'm thinking of like Kim K got kidnapped and then they started a whole war over Kim K. Like it just like doesn't make any sense to me. Like I feel like there's just another way to solve the issue. Like I said, I'm enjoying it so far. It's feeling like it's probably going to be like a 4-star read for me, but who knows? I still have another 100 pages. It could go up, it could go down from there. Who knows? We'll see. Okay, so the plan is to finish the Song of Achilles today. I also want to start either The People We Meet on Vacation or the Dowry of Blood today as well, because I really want to finish reading all of these books by like Monday. I want to be done filming and stuff so I can edit. But I need to go to the grocery store because I have been piecing some weird shit together because I've had no groceries. And I also need to come back and just clean up a little bit because I'm getting some anxiety from my apartment looking the way that it's currently looking. So yeah, it's already 4 o'clock, but hopefully my day will still be productive. I got a slow start, but yeah, let's get her done.
So I just get a caramel iced coffee with almond milk, tall, with light ice. Hot caramel iced coffee with almond milk.
I am shocked at how much I enjoyed this book. So I would say that this book, especially the ending, is almost undeniably beautiful, right? Despite the topics of like war and death and betrayal and all of that kind of stuff, there's just like an element to this book that just makes you like take a deep breath. It's kind of like a breath of fresh air almost, which I know is like a cliche saying, but yeah, like after I was sitting with it for a couple days, I was just like, wow, that really was really beautiful ending. And I love conclusions to books that feel very final, and I just like how there was a lot of full circle moments that happened at the end. And so while this was definitely a beautiful book and I'm giving it a 4.5 stars, this is my current standings of the books that I have read. You know, I haven't read anything horrible or bad. I mean, Jade City, we know how that went. You know, it wasn't my favorite thing, but it wasn't bad. So my faith in y'all is still there, but You know what I actually don't have faith in is this. And I know that is horrible to say, but something about A Dowry of Blood is just shaking me up the wrong way. But I'm really hoping that I'm proven wrong yet again. So I finished A Dowry of Blood, and I have some thoughts. So A Dowry of Blood is about a woman named Constanza who ends up getting turned into a vampire by Dracula. And after that, she essentially becomes his companion, his like bride slash lover, and you know, they're living in eternity together. And during this time, Dracula also takes some additional lovers. And as he does that, Constanza is realizing there's a dark side to Dracula, that he is manipulative, that he's abusive, he's obsessive, not just with her, but with the other like lovers that he has. And so when she starts to realize this, and she starts to realize some other dark secrets of his, she has to make a decision on what to do next. So I listened to this on audio, and to be honest, as I was reading it, I was like, I can't tell if I love this or hate this. And I ended up on the side of hating it. So I feel like part of the reason I was even thinking if I loved or hated it was because I listened to it on audio, and the audiobook narrator deserves a raise, let me tell you that, because she was really creating an experience and an atmosphere through her like audiobook performance. However, once I got to the end and I really reflected on the story itself, I realized it was just not for me. And I've come to the conclusion that I just don't think I like reading stories about vampires anymore. I just think they feel kind of old to me. And it's funny because I was really sitting with this because I don't mind stories about old vampires. I know that because I enjoyed the originals, which is a TV show. I just don't think I enjoy reading about them. And then, you know, I think about, well, maybe if someone created a book about vampires living today. But then I think about Twilight and I'm just like, nar, nar, I can't do it. But with that said, I can understand how this is someone's cup of tea. It's just not mine. So I ended up giving it 2.5 stars, not because it did anything wrong, simply for the fact that I just didn't enjoy it. All right, so I also started People We Meet on Vacation, and I'm about halfway through. This was another book that was ranked like the highest or mentioned the most in the videos I watched. And while I enjoy romances, this one, I am skeptical. Like halfway through and I literally feel nothing for these characters at all. So for those of you who aren't familiar with People We Meet on Vacation, we are following two friends who usually go on these summer vacations together, and we're learning that they recently stopped going on these vacations together because of an incident that happened a few years ago. We're not sure what the incident is. We are, you know, trying to learn that as we go. And in the story, we are learning about how they met. We are learning about some of the past vacations that they went on. And we're just getting to know them as people, I guess. These characters feel like cartoons almost. Like they're supposed to have this very like witty back and forth banter, right? Which I can appreciate because I feel like I know people like that in real life who, you know, are just very quick-witted. And I really do like that about people. But it's very overdone in this book, and it's making it hard for me to connect with the characters and make me care about them, because I'm just like, you guys are caricatures of real people, you know? And on top of that, I feel like their communication is horrible. In a lot of friends to lovers romances, part of the reason they probably aren't in a romance is because of like some miscommunication somewhere. But I feel like their communication in general, even past that conflict, is just like not good. It's making it hard for me to be invested in them as a couple. And I feel like in a romance, you need to be invested. And I'm just not. I feel like we started this video out on a kind of like a high, and now we're getting down to the trenches. Yeah, I'll be back when I finish this and we can wrap this video up. So I know I mentioned previously that in the first half, I just really wasn't connecting with the characters. And while I say that's still true, I think in the second half we got more insight into like their real issues and the real like nitty gritty of their relationship slash friendship. And because they seemed more like real people, I guess with real problems, they became more bearable. Both characters had their own internal struggles, and I appreciated that the book mentioned them going to therapy to work through some of those internal struggles instead of just trying to rely on each other to fix themselves. And I'll say that I did feel something at the end of the book. However, and I mean this in the most respectful way possible, y'all are really wrong for hyping this book up like the way that y'all did. At the end, I was just kind of like, did we all read the same book? Like, was I supposed to read it backwards to get like a different meaning? I'm not even a big romance reader, and I just feel like I've read romances that are a lot better than this. So I'm just a little confused. It was just very unseasoned to me. It was just very middle of the road. So I'm trying to figure out like how y'all got up here. I will probably never think about this book again unless I'm thinking about how I don't trust y'all with romance. No, in all seriousness, I gave this book 3 stars. I don't know if I'll pick up any more Emily Henry. It was just okay. And now that we've finished the final book, here are my final rankings of how I enjoyed everything. The Push, Song of Achilles, Jade City, People We Meet on Vacation, and the Dowry of Blood. I hope they're okay. So the only thing that I was right about was the Dowry of Blood being at the bottom. At least I know something about myself. But just to recap, I gave The Push 4.5 stars. This book was very gripping, very engaging. It was fast-paced. It was creepy, and it's not like anything I've ever read before. It was so unsettling, but in a way that I enjoyed. Next up, the Song of Achilles. I didn't think I was going to enjoy this as much as I did. I completely understand the hype around it, why it has a moment like every year, why it's been popular for like the last 5 years. I think it's a book that can be enjoyable to a lot of people no matter what you're interested in. Then we have Jade City. I feel like this is my most disappointing read because this was the book that I thought I was going to enjoy the most out of all of them, and I was just a little bit let down. But the one thing I will say about Jade City though is if it was ever made into a TV show or a movie, I would actually really watch it, and I think I would enjoy the storyline a bit more. I just have a feeling that 2 of the main characters, Lon and Hilo in here, are just fine as fuck, and I would just love to see that on my screen with my eyeballs, you know. And the way the story is written, I could see how it would play out in a visual media form better for me than it did in a book form. And I'm not gonna harp on it again too much. People We Meet on Vacation, just very flatline for me. There's moments where I was rolling my eyes, but that's okay. Not every book has to be for me. And so then last but not least, last and least, we have A Dowry of Blood by S.T. Gibson, and I gave it 2.5 stars. And contrary to People We Meet on Vacation, although I gave this a low rating, I can understand why this resonated with people. So yeah, I've learned a few things doing this experiment. And I think if I were to do this type of video again, I would change things up a bit. I would either watch more videos instead of just 20, because even though in my head 20 was a lot, it really wasn't, I don't think, a big enough sample size to get an idea of the whole booktube community in general. I would also pick books that sounded interesting to me, because I honestly feel like I set myself up for failure. But then it's hard because at the same time, I also didn't think I was going to enjoy this, and I really loved it. So I think there's just going to have to be a balance between me stepping out of my comfort zone and me knowing what I like and what I don't like. And even though all of these books weren't new favorites, I did find a lot of things that I liked, and I learned a lot more about my reading tastes and what I enjoy in books and what I don't enjoy in books. And you know, I still had fun at the end of the day, and that's all that matters. So let me know down below in the comments if you've read any of these, what your thoughts are. Let me know if any of them are controversial, because I'm a little bit afraid of y'all coming for me in the comments. But just let me know down below what your thoughts are on them. And if you made it to the end of this video, you are my favorite. Hashtag favorite gang. Okay, and I hope you guys have a fantastic day and a wonderful week, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.